Welcome students, I'm Debaruti Dash, teaching faculty, Department of Geography, Pen Dash College, Polta. Today I'll be talking on Maori for SEM 2 honors students. By origin, this Maori around 1000 years ago came from Polynesia. At a what the modern day New Zealand is referred to, and the Polynesian ancestors of Maori people have been living in the islands of Tonga and Samoa for over 1,000 years when they were believed to take long ocean voyages. And tribes take their names from Waka or the canoe that brought their ancestors to the New Zealand thousands of years ago. And the most common date of arrival listed is at 1350, and this Maori means an ordinary people who are mainly non-Europeans. And this Maoris have also a very good culture. They have contacted with new cultures, and these Maori are an example of the people who are trying to survive and stay relevant in the country that they live in. Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand, and they have also signed a treaty called Treaty of Waitangi uh, in 1846 February. And by location, this New Zealand is located about in Oceania, in the continent of Oceania. And this New Zealand has two main land masses. One is North Island, another is South Island, and some 600 smaller islands. This is the map of Asia. This is the map which shows the continent of Oceania, and from there we can see the map of New Zealand, where we can see that the Northern Island is on the top part and South Island is towards the southern part of this map. And we can also see that there is the locations are being given here, and the Tasman Sea is towards the left of New Zealand, and Southern Alps is in the South Island. Revival of Maori around 20th century, a sense of Maori activism came about specifically in 1970s. The outcome of this movement was the establishment of many Maori tribes to consider Maori grievances against the government. And the 1985, an agreement was made against English being the dominant language taught in the schools. And thus, in the late 1980s and early 1990s was the start of the burgeoning programs that would make up the New Zealand curriculum for English medium schools and also for the Maori medium schools. After World War II, many Maori migrated to the urban areas for work, and this major movement into the cities and the rapid population increase are the two influential pieces to why Maori leaders and Maori rights were being brought to the forefront of New Zealand government. Most of the population is white and of European descent who are known as Pakeha. Traditional culture, as Hansen puts in, is increasingly recognized to be an invention constructed for contemporary purposes that are suitable heritage handed on from the past. We can also see in 2013, New Zealand census around nearly 7 lakh people living in New Zealand were of Maori descent. Now, the Maori culture is considered to be more in overseas than in New Zealand. Aspect of Maori cultural heritage was appropriated often without their knowledge and outside of the Tikanga Maori. It is probable that oftentimes the consumers are not even aware of the appropriation and are thus not even appreciative of the deeper significance of the items that they purchase. New Zealand's culture is mainly derived from Maori and the early British settlers, with recent broadening arising from increased immigration. The official languages are English, Maori, and New Zealand's Sign Language, with English being very dominant. The Maori are not reaping all the benefits from the trade of their cultural heritage, whether nationally or internationally. In 2008, Martyoshka dolls featuring a Maori family were designed in New Zealand and manufactured in China to be sold. There is a growing demand for Maori cultural products, though this may benefit the trade of the authentic Maori cultural products. It also results in an increase of trade of non-authentic products outside Tikanga Maori as the demand lacks real depth. The first reason discussed elaborates on the link between cultural identity and well-being. Secondly, this part addresses the relationship between the culture and socio-economic development. The final ground relates to the history of the colonization of the Maori and the Treaty of Waitangi obligations towards them. Maori language, the word people, and the language that about 30% of the population that is as Maori speak the indigenous language, but all Maori speak English. The Maori language is part of the Polynesian branch of the Malayo-Polynesian language family. Languages in this family include Hawaiian, Samoan, and Tonga. British missionaries in 19th century were the first to write down the language. Religion. Traditionally, Maori religion, that is the pre-European belief system of the Maori, was little modified from that of their tropical eastern Polynesian homeland, conceiving of everything including natural elements and all living things as connected by common descent through Wakapa or genealogy. Walk in Maori culture. The proportion of Maori followers of Islam is low, although the number of Maori Muslims grew rapidly in the end of 20th century to 1074 at 2006 census. Festival and food. The annual Kau Kaya Kai festival on 6th February celebrates authentic Maori food. Mussel squid are their traditional food. Social and economic development. Median wages are lower than the national average. There are more violent crimes committed by Maori than any other ethnic group, and they fare worse in the health related statistics. Domestic legal security for Maori rights, the principles enshrined in the Treaty of Waitangi and the related internationally protected human rights should be provided security within that domestic legal system of New Zealand so that these rights were not vulnerable to political discretion. The special rapporteur is pleased to hear of recent legislative developments aimed at addressing the concerns raised by Maori regarding the Foreshore and Seabed Act of 2004. Now let us see the questions discuss or describe about the lifestyle and language of Maori. It can be discussed in a very effective way and it can be discussed in detail because lifestyle, how they lead their life, and the language that is at stake can be discussed. What is Treaty of Waitangi? That has also been discussed. That it's a treaty. It's a legal treaty. No other the tribe has a legal treaty which proves them that of their existence. But Maori has a treaty, a legal treaty, and every Maori tribe has to keep this treaty to prove them that they are Maori. Write about the religious beliefs of Maori. That has also been discussed in previous slide. We can also discuss it in a very elaborate. These are the references from which I have prepared this presentation. And with this, I would like to say thank you for your patient